Hey, what's up everybody? It's Flux of fluxwithit.com. Today we're going to check out Hydrosynth 2.0. So there's a whole bunch of features in here, and I'm just going to cover a little bit of it for now and just kind of show you what I've been enjoying about this thing. First and foremost, the main features that I think people are going to jump out and get excited about, obviously more patch memory. Now you have, instead of just 5 banks, you have 8 on the 49 desktop and Explorer. The Deluxe already had 8, but so everything has more memory in it now, which is cool. On top of that, you have the voice modulator. Now the voice modulator is a really deep topic. I'm not going to get too far into that today, but I will say that essentially it gives you power that I don't think I've seen in any other hardware synths. And if you guys can think of another hardware synth that has this feature, please let me know. But essentially, what it's going to allow you to do is, on a per voice basis, set individual modulations and modulation amounts. And that can be really, really powerful when you're trying to do things like recreate vintage, very vintage analog synths, like if you're trying to recreate a CS80 sound, or if you're trying to recreate an Oberheim 4 or 8 voice. This would be the way to do it, because truly each voice on those synthesizers sounds different, and that's what this allows you to do. But much more so than that, it also allows you to set up per voice modulation in a way that can do things like, maybe you want to have an arpeggiation happening on one voice, and only one voice, but everything else is playing normal. You can do that with this, and it's really kind of crazy how it goes about it. The other thing would be in the oscillator section, you now have this bit reduction, which is super awesome. I mean, this allows you to get like really grungy digital sounds out of this thing. Before, you could really just like push the mutants and kind of go outside of the regular bounds to get to these aliasing places and strange harmonic twisting, just absurdity ways of programming. But now, with this, you can really just dive right in and crank it up and get it sounding crunchy and weird. The envelopes and LFOs also have quantize on them now. So what that means is that you can actually have your LFOs start stepping, and I'll kind of show you what it looks like here. So you can create LFO stepping, and you can make LFOs have different rhythmic values to them, that sort of thing. And same with the envelopes. If you set up an envelope slope here, like so, and I quantize it, as I turn this quantize value to a lower number, you'll see that it becomes more and more blocky, and that results in interesting stepping changes that you can use in your patches. There are some other features in here as well, like things like effects bypass. You can use the sustain pedal as a sostenuto pedal now, which is really nice. You can even use it as a modulation source. For now, I want to stick to like the ultra fun stuff that to me just jumps out at me. All right, so let's start off with the bit reduction. Okay, so let's take a look at what bit reduction is actually doing to our harmonics. Let's take a sine wave first. And you'll see you just have the fundamental there, and I'm going to turn bit reduction on, and as I drop it down, you're going to see all these harmonics start to pop up. So it gets about as lo-fi as it's going to get when it's just on and off, right? Let's drop it back to about 4 and play up a little bit higher here. You can hear it starting to do weird fold back stuff. And if I pitch that up, so you can get really kind of crazy sounds with that. If you're trying to do some really spacey, weird ambient stuff, all you really have to do is just throw some reverb and delay on that, and you're there. What happens when we do a wavetable with that? So we'll turn on wave list, and let's go ahead and do the basic one here. So we're going to start off with a sine wave, and it goes through these different pulses, right? And I still have it quantize or bit redux down to 4. So let's take a look. Now if I bring this up to a much higher level, let's say 8. So it's much smoother, but if you listen closely, you'll still hear all that swishing and digital garble. Now let's take it all the way off. And it's clean as can be. So now you have this freedom to really kind of alter your voice and make it sound as grimy and digital as you want, or as clean as you want. Let's make some modulations happen with this, okay? So I'm going to have LFO is going to go to wave scan. And we'll make it unipolar. So now we've got this LFO that we are going to set up like so. And actually, let's make these waveforms a little bit more interesting at the end here. All right. Just to get some interesting shapes out of them. There we go. These ones should be perfect for it. So now, excellent, right? Now, let's make this sound really different on a per voice basis. So this is where we're starting out at. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my voice setting, and instead of being on alter, I want to be on rotate. That means each time I press a key, it's going to be a new voice. Right? So then we go down here and we go to voice mod. And now I have all these voices that I can set them to whatever modulations I want. And I'll go ahead and do that now. All right, and we should be good to go. All right. So now what do I want to do with that? Let's take LFO3, which is modulating that wave scan, and let's use our voices to change how fast it's modulating. So each voice is going to modulate at a different rate. So now when I play a chord, I'm getting all this variation here. Now, let's do some basic patch creation stuff here, right? We'll go ahead and drop the filter down, give it a little bit of resonance, a little bit of envelope amount, not a lot, just a bit. Right? And let's go ahead and sculpt this thing out. So sustain will be low, release, give it decay, and a little bit of attack, and give the whole thing a bit of release here. So now we're... So now we have the ability to use our voice mod to adjust this envelope. Let's go ahead and have the voice mod adjusting the sustain, and we'll have the voice mod adjusting the release amount for overall, and we'll have the voice mod adjust filter cutoff just a bit. So each one of these voices now has a slightly darker or brighter sound to it. And we'll go ahead and also give it some envelope amount. And we'll make this unipolar. That's another nice thing about the voice mod, is not only do you have voice mod, but you also have voice mod plus, which is unipolar, but it starts at a at a higher level. So you hear all this variation happening per voice. And we'll do some, let's go into the voice menu. Voice mod to analog feel is a nice one. So what that means is that per voice, the analog feel knob is going to be turned up or down, right? Let's get a second oscillator in here. And we'll bring that right about here. And let's make it something like so. Let's set LFO4 to our oscillator 2 panning. And we'll set no level to that, but then we'll use voice mod to mod matrix, and that's going to be depth 8, which is right here. We'll set that at max. So now, different voices are going to have different levels of panning. Let's give this whole thing just a bit more release. A little bit of delay. So you can see we're already in this area where we've got a lot of variation that normally you wouldn't be able to get to on a synthesizer. Normally you're not going to have quite that amount of variation. You might have some synthesizers out there will have something similar to the analog feel knob where they introduce a bit of variability, some randomness, whatever it is to the envelopes and filters and that sort of thing. But really what we're doing here is we're giving you complete control over all that variability. You can be doing things like having, maybe you want a noise source to, per voice, alter things a little bit and kind of change things around. You can do that with this now, whereas before it would be, you know, more just on a single knob and you're kind of locked into what someone else thinks an analog feel should sound like. Not so much anymore. Really fun thing that you can do also is using the new step LFOs. So the step LFO now has a mode called step advance, and what that's going to allow us to do is you can trigger your sequence per key press. Okay, so if I have semi-lock on and I turn one shot to step, let's go ahead and set this up. So now I have this sequence in here, and I want that to be my oscillators pitch. All oscillators pitch. Set that up here. Now, what's going to happen is, let me look at my voice mode. I'm in rotate, so that means each voice is, going to be triggered per key. I'm in single, which means all of my voices are going to be triggered by the same LFO. They're all going to be modulated by the same LFO. So. But what I could also do is I can have this set to poly. And what that means is if I hold down one note, it's going to stay at that note. But if I press another note, it's going to be on its own LFO. and now it has to wait until I rotate around. There's the next voice. Next step, I should say. Or what I could do is I could go into alter mode, and alter means that when I have one note held, I'm on voice 1. If I have 2 voices held, I'm on voice 1 and voice 2. If I have 3 notes held, I'm on voice 1, 2, and 3, so forth and so on. So you have this freedom to really change things around on your voice edit in that way. And that can be a useful per voice modulation also. So you can use that in the same way that you use voice mod and have things happening on a per voice basis, but have them be either a little bit less predictable or have them be just as predictable depending on how you set up your voice structure and your LFO trigger sync. So again, if I go back to single, and this is just some of what is in this new update. I mean, I haven't even gotten to things like the LFO quantize, for instance. So you remember we have that LFO that's modulating the wave scan. What happens when I quantize it? Now, it's still moving at the same rate, but it gives it a totally different rhythmic property. And this is really fun to pair with the delays. So we'll do... So this Hydrosynth 2.0 update just brings you a whole new world of modulation possibilities that previously were not available. Anyway, I'll probably be doing more in-depth videos kind of tackling each individual feature, but figured I'd just give you a heads up on this. Peace.